Hi, I'm Brittany and welcome to Proverbs Study. Today we are studying Proverbs 5, verse 7 and 8. We'll be doing this every day, so come on and join us. So Proverbs 5, verse 7 in the King James Version says, "Hear me now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Remove thy way far from her, and come not nigh the door of her house." So we need some context. So let's go back to verse 6. Actually, we're going to go to verse 3 first. Okay. So who is this her that these two scriptures the admonishment is in the two scriptures, but verse 8 is talking about? So verse 3 says, "For the lips of a strange woman drop as an honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil." So this strange woman has been talked about in these last 5 or 6 verses. And the admonishment has been what her mouth actually does, what her words do, where her feet go, and where her steps take hold on or take hold of, and how her ways are. So if you haven't gotten it by now, we are not to trust this strange woman. This strange woman sounds, you can identify her by the sweet sounds of her voice and the smoothness that allows you to easily accept what she's saying. That's how you can identify this strange woman. So in spiritual warfare, you always want to identify what you're up against. So if you're up against a strange woman, or if there's something in your life that is causing you some type of turmoil and you don't know what it is, it might be that you are listening to the words of a strange woman, or an entity that represents this strange woman. And we have connected this strange woman to the woman that is talked about in Revelation, the book of Revelations, that is called to deceive many. This is the actions, this is the end goal of this strange woman, is to eventually, like in verse 5 says, her feet go down to death, to eventually pull you down to hell with her. This is where she's from. This is her end goal. She don't love you. Okay? This strange woman is there to destroy you, and not just destroy you here while you're alive on earth, but to actually destroy your soul. So this verse, in verse 7, it says, "Hear me now, therefore." All right. So all things considered, from the beginning of this chapter, but especially from the beginning of verse 3, all through verse 7, hear me now is what your father is saying. Solomon is talking to his father. And so we can attribute that to our Father giving us instruction, because the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. God gave Solomon this wisdom to pass on to his son. So we can say this is God as our Father telling us about a strange woman whose words are going to sound very sweet and smooth and easily draw you in to accept what she's saying and come into agreement with what she's saying. But eventually she's going to divide you from the life that is in God's words, God's sayings, God's wisdom, and God's understanding, so that you are pulled down to hell. So that's the point of this. Now, as a child, let's, verse 7, hear now, therefore, all these things considered, considering all these things, O ye children. As a child, let's hear. It says, "Depart not from the words of my mouth." This is what God is telling us. Depart not from the words of his mouth. If he's the one that told us about this strange woman, let's not depart from that knowledge, that understanding, that revelation that he's giving us. So the point of this is for us to be able to identify in our lives if there is some voice that we're listening to. It could be in music, it could be on TV, it could be in culture, it could be in whole movements. What is the strange woman? What is the representative of the strange woman that is pulling us into separation from God's words, God's sayings, God's understanding, and God's wisdom, that is eventually going to pull us down to hell? Where is it? Let's take a moment to identify that. Now, once that's identified, hear now, therefore, O ye children, and depart not from the words of my mouth. Yes, depart not from the understanding of who this strange woman is, what her nature is, what she does, and what her end goal is, but also what God has said about wisdom so far. What has he taught us so far about wisdom? What do we need to know? What do we need to hold on to? It says, lay hold of wisdom. In all these chapters so far, every chapter has said, lay hold of wisdom. Take it, attend to it, bow your ear in understanding to it. Do the work. It's hard work to attend to wisdom, to lay hold of it so you can take it in and apply it. But that's the work that he wants us in verse 7 not to depart from. Don't depart from those words. And now in verse 8, it gives further instruction. Remove thy way far from her. Once you identify where this strange woman's voice is coming from, who she is, remove your way far from her. Not just the direction that you're in, but where you are going. Not just the place that you're in now. Where your way, the path that you are on, the way you are operating, the way you are moving, what you are doing. Let's say you're in the morning, you're getting ready, and you decide to do some transcendental meditation. That is a way that is going to lead you astray, because that is not rooted in wisdom. That is not from the Father. So that is something, that is a way that is eventually going to separate us from God's words, God's saying, God's wisdom, and God's understanding. It could be any little thing in our lives that voice is trying to pull us into agreement with it, to separate us. We need to take the time to identify it, because we have to remove our way far from her, and come not near or not nigh the door of her house. So don't even go near the door of her house. This is not to incite fear. God didn't put this in here to help to make us fearful. He put it in there to give us wisdom and strategy for how to be wise. It is not wise to move in the way that is going to separate you from God. It is not wise to go near the door of this person's house. That means you go and seek out whatever it is. The entrance, that door represents the entryway into that path of separation, or that the goal of that person who wants to separate you, the entryway. So once you identify the strange woman, now identify the entryway. What brought you to that strange woman's house? Because the instruction is, do not come near the door of her house. So I hope this was clear. I hope this is encouraging. I hope this is inciting you to action, because we have work to do, y'all, and this is part of that work. God bless you. Let me know what you think in the comments, and put any questions that you have in the comments. Love you.